Good afternoon. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. We will be talking a bit about the sermon today. That's good, to talk about the cornerstone and the stones. And this is very important to talk about the living stones, because always the Holy Land is being visited by millions of tourists every year. And most of them are interested to see the dead stones. And most of them supposed to walk where Jesus walked, but they end up driving in buses. And in a bus, you don't see that much. You don't see the real life. And of course, many of them come and go without knowing that in Palestine, there are also Palestinian Christians. And many times when we talk, people are asking me, how did you become a Christian? When did your family convert? And we said, the first ones who saw Jesus are the shepherds. And we are the followers of the shepherds there. So Christianity is existing since 2,000 years ago from there. And this is the only thing we exported to the world. So we are very glad to be here. My name is Daoud. Daoud is David, and born in Bethlehem. So David from Bethlehem. I went to Austria in 1989. When I finished my school, it was during the first Intifada. And the situation was very bad. So I went to Austria, where I visited a Bible school there, came back in 1991, studied at Bethlehem University business, and then continued my studies in Germany with tourism management. And of course, I was working in the field of tourism, organizing tours for people who would like to work to see more than a normal tourist see. So to connect the land with the people. And since now 2002, we are working on a project called the Tent of Nations. And of course, this project is dealing with land issues. And we are living under occupation, as you know. I mean, I don't want to repeat the whole story, but living under occupation is not easy, because life is controlled by the occupiers, even with traveling, even with going from one place to another. And for us, it is very difficult to live under these circumstances. Of course, the land was occupied years back. The Ottomans were in the country for more than 400 years. Then the British Mandate, then the Jordanians in the West Bank, and the Egyptians in Gaza. And then since 1967, we are living under the Israeli occupation in the occupied territories. So in the beginning of the 70s, the Israelis started to build settlements in the occupied territories. And the idea is to make it difficult for the Palestinians to establish their own state there. And of course, settlements are becoming like big cities for us, and they are controlling the majority of the West Bank. So after the peace agreements, the area was divided into three zones, three areas, Area A, B, and C. And Area C is the majority of the West Bank, and it's totally under Israeli control. And it's making more than 65% of the West Bank. So it is a very difficult reality we are facing now. And of course, the peace process did not change the situation. Many people had hope to solve the issue through negotiations, but years and years, and the reality is still the same, but even getting worse and worse. Now we are, as a family, were affected by this situation, as many Palestinian families. We own a farm located southwest of Bethlehem on a hill, which is about 3,000 feet above sea level. From there, we could see the Mediterranean. And this land was bought by my grandfather in 1916. And now, after 1967, as you see everywhere, oh, the mouse is not functioning, you see Israeli settlements around the farm. So they are occupying the hills. And this is the only Palestinian and Christian hill that is under Palestinian control. At that time, when my grandfather bought the land, he did two unusual things. The first thing he did, he registered the land. So this is a picture of my grandfamily. This is my grandfather. And he registered the land. At that time, Palestinians did not register their land during the Ottoman period, or many of them did not do so, because they didn't want to pay property taxes to the occupiers, you know. And papers at that time were not important. So with a handshake, people could buy mountains. So why do I have a paper? And everyone in the village knows this is my land. So my grandfather did it the right way. So he registered the land. So we got papers from the Ottomans, from the English, from the Jordanians, and from the Israelis. So deeds since 1916. We have the original deeds that the land belongs to us. And the second unusual thing my grandfather did, he moved to the land with his sons, with my grandmother, and they lived in a cave on the property. This is where the family used to live. And this was unusual because most of the people, they used to live in villages and cross to their land and come back in the evening. This is our mentality there, and this is also the biblical tradition. When as Jesus spoke about like parables, people are going to the vineyards. People were not living on their farms; they were living in communities, like here in the village, as you see here. Down the valley is the Palestinian village, and of course, surrounding the village was always farmland. So people used to farm their land in the morning or during the day and come back by sunset. This was the tradition. But my grandfather did it the other way because he wanted his children to grow up on the farm, to protect the land, to continue his vision after he died. And this is exactly what happened. So my father and uncle grew up in the cave. They continued the work that their parents started. They kept their presence on the farm. They kept farming the land, cultivating the ground, planting more trees until they passed away. My father died in 1976, and he left my mom with 9 children, the oldest 20 years old and the youngest 3 years old. So I was 5 years old. And it was his vision, by the way, to devote his land for a peace project, because my father was born during the Ottoman occupation and he died during the Israeli occupation. So between 1905 until he died in 1976, the situation was very bad. Now, also my uncle died in 1987 after living all his life in this cave, in the cave of his father. Now, as children and grandchildren, we grew up with the same tradition. And of course, after 1967, the reality was totally changed. Israelis started to build settlements. And in 1991, we heard by chance that the Israeli authorities, they declared our farm as a state land in order to confiscate the last Palestinian hill and build a settlement there. Of course, since we have documents from 1916, we said we will challenge that because this is our own land, this is our home. And we went to the court, which is the military court, because the West Bank is under Israeli military control. And we put the documents in front of the judge, who was shocked to see papers. Because it was declared as a state land means that the land has no owner. And they know that many Palestinians do not have papers for their land. But we came to the court with documents. And of course, the case was postponed. And because of our location there, they started to make it difficult for us to prove ownership. And to make the story short, we are still in court since 1991, struggling. 12 years we had before the Israeli military court. And since 2002 until today, in front of the Supreme Court, of course, with a financial burden of $150,000. But we did not give up. We are still there, and the case is still not closed. We are going until today in the Israeli courts, and we don't know how long this struggle for justice is going to take. But the most important thing here, we did not give up. You know, we believe in justice, and that's why we are struggling to keep this land. So Israeli settlers, they tried through physical pressure to move us out. So Israeli settlers attacked us between 1991 and 2002. So they came to the farm from the settlements beside, you know, around the farm, and they cut our trees. They damaged our water tank. They threatened us with guns. And they tried to build roads 3 times a road on our property, because what they do is, you know, they cut the trees, they build roads, and they put a water tower and a container, and then an outpost is there. And this outpost, according to their law, is illegal, but what is illegal becomes legal. And so the settlements are growing on Palestinian ground. So the last time they came in 2002, they started building a road, and we could not come close to the bulldozers because the settlers were carrying guns. Civilians were carrying guns. But we managed to stop this road construction by court. We went to the Supreme Court, and we got a document that the settlers are not allowed to build a road on our property. So we stopped them legally, and the settlers were very frustrated, and they cut 250 olive trees from our property. And of course, an olive tree for a Palestinian is like a member of the family. So we were very frustrated, but we managed to plant new trees sponsored by a Jewish organization from the UK called European Jews for Just Peace in Palestine. They heard about us, and they sponsored 250 olive trees, and they came and planted them. For us, this was a very sign of hope, you know, that we are not alone in this struggle. So with physical pressure, we have many stories to tell, but we did not give up. We are still there. Then they tried to offer us money to sell the land, and the last offer was an open check. But for us, we said our land is our mother, and our mother is not for sale. And now they are trying to use another strategy, which is to isolate us. The road is blocked to the farm. The main road to the farm is blocked since 2001. Always they say for security purposes. This has nothing to do with security, but to make it difficult for the Palestinians to cross to their land. And the moment they are not farming their land, they will be taking it as a state land because it's not cultivated. Yes. Oh, okay. Oh. Because, you know, like they stop, they make it difficult for the Palestinians to cross to their land, and the moment they are not farming their land, the land will be taken as a state land because it's not cultivated. And this is an old Ottoman law. The land that is not cultivated continuously for more than 3 years, the state has the right to declare it as a state land. So this law is being taken from the Ottoman. And of course, they make it difficult for the Palestinian farmers to cross to their land, and then the land is taken because it's not cultivated. Now, not only the road is blocked, but also on our own land, we have no access to running water, no electricity, and no building permit. And 4 years ago, we received 13 demolishing orders for structures we built without a permit. Among them are tents. We are not allowed to have a tent on our property. And beside of that, we are facing a difficult reality very soon with the wall that is being built on Palestinian ground, and now is cutting, this wall is cutting off Palestinians from their land and Palestinians from Palestinians, like Palestinians living in villages and Palestinians living in the cities. And the big issue with the wall is that one is, with walls we cannot achieve peace. Walls will create more hatred, more bitterness, and will create more enemies. And the second problem with the wall, as you see here, in different areas of the West Bank, this wall is separating people from their own land. And in our area, as you see it on the map, we are between the settlements Neve Daniel and the village Nahalin. To the left is the green line, which is the border between the West Bank and Israel. And the purple line is the wall in our area. So when you see the wall, this wall will separate the people from their own land, and it will separate 25,000 Palestinians living to the west of Bethlehem in 5 villages from the city of Bethlehem. And people are working there, so it's very difficult for them to move back and forth. Still, now we have an access through a tunnel which is under the Settlers Road, connecting the 5 villages with Bethlehem. And of course, with this, it's very difficult to move back and forth because this tunnel will be totally under Israeli military control. So maybe the trip to that village or to the farm from Bethlehem, which is about 8-9 miles, might take 3 hours with waiting at the checkpoint. And of course, this situation will force many Palestinians who are living to the west to leave the area and go to the bigger prisons, which are the cities. Now, for the people who are living outside the wall now, on the Palestinian side, like this village down, they used to cross by foot going to their fields. Now, because of the wall, they will have to go to the land all the way around, crossing through the tunnel and come somehow to their farms, which will be almost impossible to do so. Now, this is the reality of people living in Palestine. This is not a unique story. Land confiscation we hear on a daily basis, house demolition, the same story. And what is the reaction? How people should react to this? The normal reaction are in 3 ways, or 3 options we have. The first option is with violence. It's a normal reaction. When people are pushed to the corner, to the edge, they try to react the way they think it's good, or it's maybe could change the situation. And the easiest way is to react in a violent way. But what can we achieve with violence except more violence? We create more hatred, more bitterness, more enemies. So there is no way to solve any conflict with violence. The second option is to resign, to accept the situation as it is, and wait for somebody to come for salvation. Sit and cry and blame the other. This is also dangerous because acting this way, we are presenting ourselves as victims. And to be in the victim mentality is very dangerous. And the third option is to give up and leave. In our situation is to emigrate, to leave the country. And who is leaving the country? The best educated Palestinians, and among them are the Christians. So we are afraid that the Holy Land will be without Christians soon. Our churches will become like museums, just visited from international Christian groups, but are not presented by the Christian Palestinians. Now, in talking about our situation, we said from the beginning, those 3 options are not good. We are against violence. We will never sit down and cry and blame the other. And we will never give up and leave. So we started to think about the 4th way, we call it. But before starting to develop a new way, we said 4 important things here. One, we said we refuse to be victims. Easy said, of course, But for us, it was important to move ourselves out of this victim mentality. In order to do something new, to create something new, we had to work on ourselves. We had to change ourselves before walking on that path. So we said also we refuse to hate. It's very difficult to say that in a situation like ours, but we are distinguishing here between hating the other and not accepting their bad actions. So we are respecting the humans as humans, but we have to stand up and tell the other what you do against me is wrong, is unjust. Thirdly, we said we are people who will live their faith, walk the talk. It's easy to read in the scriptures, but sometimes it's very difficult to practice it. And then we said also we believe in justice, and one day justice will prevail. So after saying all of that, we started a new way of action under the title, We Refuse to Be Enemies. This is our non-violent way of action. And we said we cannot overcome evil with more evil. We have to do it with good. We cannot overcome darkness with more darkness. We have to do it with light. And we cannot overcome hatred with more hatred. We have to do it with love. So it was like the turning point for us. So this is a non-violent, a creative, and a positive way of resistance. Now, under the slogan, We Refuse to Be Enemies, we started a project called the Tent of Nations on the farm. And this project has to deal with land issues. So we said, and of course we started it in 2002 when we had a lot of difficulties from the Israeli settlers who attacked us and they tried to build roads on our property. We said, what is next? Are we going to act violently or resign or leave? And we said, no, we refuse to be enemies. And this project is a hope for us. It's a therapy for us. And the idea is to transform our pain into a constructive way. Because when people are frustrated, they are angry. And when they are angry, they automatically react in a violent way. But of course we are frustrated. We are sometimes angry, but we try to channel this anger to be invested in a positive way. It's difficult, but possible. And the second goal is to, we said we are committed to nonviolent resistance, and that's why we are going to the court, going to prevent or trying to prevent our land from being confiscated through legal issues, although the legal system is unjust for us. And thirdly, we wanted to open the farm for people to come and see. We want people to come and see, because this is the best way of education. Come and see and go and tell. So when we talk about roadblocks, people will see it. When we talk about settlements, they can see the settlements from the farm. When we talk about restrictions, they feel them. No water, no electricity, and no building permit. And this is also an invitation to Israeli people. We are inviting Israeli people to come and see and learn about the situation and learn that the other that you are talking about is not an enemy, is a human being. And this is how life looks like for them. You know? It's an eye-opening experience for them. We try to open people's hearts, ears, and eyes to see. And fourthly, we said we want to build a bridge between land and people, because land is the core issue in our struggle, and we want also to connect people with the ground in a positive way. If I say I want to keep my land, I love my land, so I have to protect it. And this is how we educate people about environmental issues. Now, the question was, how can we develop the farm without electricity, without water, and without a building permit? It looks impossible, but nothing is impossible. If you believe in what you are doing, you can do it. So for electricity, we managed to install a solar power system. So we have now clean electricity coming directly from the sun. Of course, the sun does not send any bills, which is good. On the contrary, we managed to save more than $40,000 since 2009 for fuel expenses. We used to run on daily basis our diesel generator, but now we are using it occasionally. So we are almost independent in terms of energy. And we received a demolition order for the roof where the panels are on. So we are trying now to defend it legally. For water issues, we managed to collect rainwater into systems. When it rains in the rainy season, which is about between November and March, we try to collect water from the roof of the 2 existing buildings, and we collect them in cisterns. And this is a way to try to solve the problem with water. And if our cisterns are full, we manage to do our farming and to use the water for cooking and drinking and so on. But this year, since it did not rain that much, we have to buy water, and this is very expensive for us. Now with buildings, we are not allowed to build on the ground. We started building under the ground. We started renovating caves, existing caves. This is one of 7 caves renovated. And of course, we have a chapel cave. We have a cave that is used for prayers and Bible studies, and also for church services for people who are coming to visit. And this is done, the painting is on the floor, done by kids during one of our summer camp, and symbolically is the idea of nonviolent resistance, is Jesus breaking the gun. Now after we managed to develop the infrastructure there, we have tents to accommodate our people and volunteers. We started to invite people to the farm to teach them by doing about our way of action, because we wanted people to see the other as human being. It's a way to show that we are people who have the right to be there, and who have also the right to live in dignity, in justice and peace. So we started under the title Learning Hope and Planting Peace. We started a tree planting campaign every year. So every year between January and March, so if I heard a group from your church is coming in January, so that would be great if you have a stop at the Tent of Nations, and we will plant some trees, because it's a planting season for us. And you are invited to plant some trees on the farm. And the idea, when we plant a tree, and especially an olive tree, we believe in the future, because the first olives might come after 10 years. When we plant a tree, we protect the land, we make it productive, and also we learn that peace should grow from the bottom and up. We need the ground for peace. That's why we heard in the sermon today, we are the rocks. And even Jesus spoke to Peter, you are the rock. Even Peter denied Jesus 3 times. But even if we are sometimes we have lack of faith, but God is strengthening us through His Son, and He is giving us a responsibility. You are the rock, and on this rock I build my church. So you are my witness. And that's why we learn things must grow from the bottom and up. We have to have the foundation. We cannot build a house on sand. We need to have the foundation first. Now we are planting trees, inviting Israelis, Palestinians, internationals to plant for peace. Youth, elderly people, anyone is invited. We plant trees beside olive trees. We plant grapes, almonds, fig trees, apricots, other trees that do not need a lot of water, because it's a big investment for us. Like when we plant a tree, we have to water the trees twice a week, and all it's done by hands. And we're talking about 500 to 1,000 trees every year. But the moment the tree or the roots find their way into the soil, the tree can live for generations, and especially the olive tree. And this is how we can make peace. Now the second project we are doing is children's summer camp activities in July. Now this year we have the summer camp between the 7th and the 20th of July. So we invite about 80 children from Bethlehem area, from refugee camps, and we try with international help, international volunteers, to work with those children for 2 weeks, always in creative workshops, like paintings, music, mosaic, theater. And last summer camp's theme was with heart and hand, we change the land. You know, we want the people to believe and do. And our goal with the summer camp activities is that we want the children to discover their talents. I can paint, I can draw, I can do something, you know, positive. This is important for us because our children are traumatized children. They live in a difficult situation, and it's very difficult to encourage them. But we are trying to do so through opening their eyes to see their strengths. And so we want them to focus on their positives, believe in themselves that they are able to shape their future by themselves. Then through different kinds of activities, this is my daughter Shadan. She is 15 now, and Nardine is, the second daughter is 12, and the boy is 10 years old. And they're all active on the farm. Music is very important as a therapy for children. Community games, we try to teach the children we all belong together. We can do it together. And of course, we ask the children to write their wishes for a better future. You know, so to write what they want to be. And this is an important issue because most of the children, they tell about their difficulties, and they don't have wishes for the future. You know, why to wish? We know we will have a very dark future. But it's important from the beginning to let them feel they are able to change and then think in a positive way. The other projects we are doing are like harvest camps. So in June, we do the apple and the apricot harvest. And in July, we have the almond harvest. In August, we have the grape harvest, the fig harvest in September, and the olive harvest end of October. So we try to invite international volunteers, and they can work on the farm in the morning, do field trips in the afternoon, and come together in the evening to speak about our experiences. We have also international youth exchange programs. We are trying to invite youth groups like school children to come and to connect with Palestinian young people. And the idea is to learn from each other and build bridges between nations and cultures. We have a voluntary program, so people can come for a short and long term. People could come between like 1 day and 1 year. So volunteers coming for a week or 3 months. Other volunteers are coming for 6 months to a year. So they live on the farm in tents, and they help with practical work on the farm. If it is the harvest, they do the harvest. If we are constructing something, they help with that. And also they could help with the different activities. And for women volunteers, they could help my wife. Up to the right, up there, Jihan, my wife, is a computer teacher, and she started a ministry in the village, in a Muslim village in the valley that is close to the farm. And the idea is she is trying to motivate women in the village who do not have chances for education. So she started with English classes, and they added computer classes. Of course, we are not expecting them to be professionals in English or computer, but this is a way to move them out from their houses, try to empower them through the different kinds of activities, but also to let them believe in themselves. You know, they can shape their future. They can be active in their communities. And of course, women are important to empower, because if women are empowered, they empower their children, their husbands, and the rest of the family. So we do also farming and agricultural classes for women there, and we started recently with a recycling project. So now we are recycling the plastic bags, and they are doing purses, like shopping purses. And it's a way to educate about the environment in a practical way. For us, it's important to say we always invite people to visit our farm. And the idea is international presence is very helpful for us, because through the international presence, we managed to keep the work on and on. And I remember, maybe my friend Bill will talk about it, but I remember when we received 13 demolishing orders, many people in the US and other countries reacted. We sent emails and there was a big reaction. And through the pressure that came from outside, we managed to keep our structures. Now, we are trying by doing that to make the land a symbol of peace and a sign of hope. And the number of visitors is increasing since 2007. And last year we had more than 7,000 people who came to visit the farm. And this year, between January and April, we had 2,045 people, including Israeli people. So this is very important for us, because at the end, this is the way, come and see, and go and tell. And we are asking people not to go and tell what they've heard, but what they've seen. So we have a bigger mission for us. Of course, like, we are not trying to react. We have a vision for the future, but we have to be realistic and walk in small steps. So our vision is to establish one day a vocational training center, like a school, focusing on organic farming, alternative energy, like solar and wind. We will be installing a couple of small wind turbines for generating electricity. And of course, it's very important to educate the new generation about environmental issues and the reuse of gray water, so recycling. Because now we are recycling the gray water and we are using it for irrigation. And we are using also compost, and the plan is to produce biogas as a cooking gas out of the compost. So always new ideas that keeps us motivated, but through those ideas we motivate other people. So our plan is, it's not about to say we are trying to focus on this farm to protect it. No, we are making it as a model. We are making it as a story of hope for many people. So that's why we are trying to educate people by inviting them to come and see. And of course, it's important to say we want to protect the place, but to make it as a place for other people too. So we have a big plan. It's maybe unrealistic now, because if you want to build a school, you need a building permit that you will never get. But why not to have a big vision and walk in small steps? We have everyday obstacles, but when we focus on our vision, we see our daily problems as small problems, not huge problems. So we are trying to walk in small steps and walk forward, focusing on our vision, but we are not doing it by ourselves. We are trying to invite everyone to be part of this dream. You are invited today to be part of this dream, to accompany us, to back us, and to pray for us. And of course, you can learn more about the work we are doing. We have a website, tentofnations.org, and we established in 2007 Friends of Tent of Nations North America, and my friend Bill Plitt will be talking about it. And of course, 3 important words are the foundation of the work we are doing: faith, love, and hope. And love is the greatest among them, yes. So if we have no faith, we cannot do anything. If we have faith like a mustard seed, we can move mountains. We can create miracles. And if we don't have hope, we cannot move forward. And if we don't have love in our hearts and love the other, we cannot remain strong. So that's why I always say we have to focus on our vision, exactly like a farmer who is putting his hand on the plow. The moment he does that, he is not allowed to look backwards. He should focus. Because I don't know if you saw a farmer plowing using his horse, or you see it if you come in March, April to the Holy Land. And if he does look backwards, the line won't be straight. So he has to focus. It's a very difficult soil to plow, full of stones. So he has to be patient. He has to walk in small steps, but walking and walking until he gets to his goal. And this is exactly what we are trying to achieve in small steps. I believe always in small steps. I do my part, you do your part, and all those small steps together will definitely one day make a big difference. So the small steps can be seen as small mosaic stones. So we collect the stones and we shape the bigger picture together. And that's why in small steps, I always say the work will continue. This is my son Bishara. Bishara means the good news on the tractor. This is like an old picture. He's now 10 years old, and he's trying to use the bigger tractor to drive. He wants to drive the tractor. And always I believe in small steps, The new generation, for us, we are working in order to establish, or let us say, to keep this hope alive. Not for ourselves, but for the sake of the new generation. I will stop here. Thank you so much. Thank you. For the solar power system, so a building permit for the solar power system. Well, like we received a demolishing order for the roof where the panels are. So we, they didn't say the solar power system is illegal, but they said the roof where we put the panels on are illegal. Is illegal, yes. So yeah, we are trying, of course, like to go legally and try to prevent it from being demolished. The same with cisterns. We have demolishing orders for cisterns. So even a rainwater, I'm not allowed to collect. But we are trying to challenge that legally and try to do it through like a legal reaction in the Israeli courts. They said you need a building permit for anything you do, which sometimes we understand. In any country, you need building permits. But the problem is we apply and you will never get a permit. So when we received 13 demolishing orders, we went to the authorities and applied for permits. And of course, the first time was denied, every permit like individually. So, like we have 13 demolishing orders for tents. So for every thing, we had to apply separately. And then after 3 times, we had to go to the Supreme Court, because they denied it, the military court denied it. And then the Supreme Court, after 3 years of legal struggle, they denied our permits for building. And now we started the process from below zero in order to keep it in front of the court to prevent any demolition. And the same story with cultivation stop orders. Sometimes we find them on a fence or on a tree. And we had so far, since 1991, 42 cultivation stop orders. So in order to prevent from cultivating new fields and planting new trees.
Do you have a harder time?
Yes, of course. Like this is, I said from the beginning, what we are doing, it's not, our story is not a unique story. It is the daily story of Palestinians. Because we hear on daily basis land confiscation. Now, not only the documents that are stopping the Israelis from taking our land. Because if the documents only, then the process should be ended like since years. Because we have the original documents. Actually, with the first session, we could prove our ownership. And in a normal situation, in a normal legal system, the judge must close the file and say, we are very sorry, this is your land and you have your documents, and that's it. But of course, like they are trying to make it difficult for us. So part of the struggle is to have documents, but it is not everything. And this is what many of our neighbors at the beginning did not understand. So they said, anyway, whatever we do won't help, because they will come and take our land. Now they started to believe in our way of action, because it's not only about the documents, it's about the presence, the permanent presence on the ground, and which always, we have 24 hours a day presence on the farm, like from local people, from family members, and also from international volunteers. And thirdly, we are trying always to act legally. Anything happens on the farm, we go to the court. If settlers are coming and jumping over our fence to come to the land, even if they are coming not in a radical way or to attack, we try to report that to the police. So showing there are people there. And the third big issue is the international awareness. Now, recently, just a month ago, the Israeli authorities declared the whole area surrounding the farm from the eastern and southern side as a state land. Now, many Palestinian neighbors, they came to us asking us what should we do, and now we are experts in dealing with court issues, So we started to tell them, the first thing you do, even if you don't have a document, you have to survey the land. You have to have your neighbors signing on your map and showing you own land physically. So even if you don't have a paper from the Ottoman period, you can try. You can go to the court and then apply, and then have a process going on and on. And of course, the international awareness is important. Your presence on the ground is also important. Cultivate the land, plant more trees. All of that will help keep the land in a non-violent way. And so this is actually what we are trying to achieve in helping our neighbors. So this, please, sorry. Well, like many, of course, like at that time during the Ottomans, so some people, they registered the land, because the idea of like registering the land started from the Ottoman period, to have documentation to your land. Well, I'm not aware of that, but of course, like people, they used to buy land or to get their land through a handshake. So not like with writing or signing on a document. So exactly like you remember the biblical story from Abraham. When he came to Hebron, he bought a piece of land, and he did not sign an agreement, says, I paid for this, and this is my borders. They used to put like 3 big stones above each other, saying, this is my border, here and there, and everybody knows. Now, of course, like the elderly generation, they died, they used to have documents, and then the land was divided among the children, okay? Now, what happened is, because of the difficulties during the British mandate and so on, many of the families did not continue to register their land according to the new system, like the new English law. So of course they said, nobody is asking us to do that, and nobody is taking our land. So why to do it? Why do I need paper? Why do I need to have a land survey? Like now the second generation also divided their land among their children. So even the pieces of land were getting smaller and smaller. And of course, people are losing track, who is the first owner of the land, And of course, was not important until we realize that our land is being taken from us after 1967. So it is, of course, like people are arguing, I was born here. My father too, my grandfather too, and this is the land I inherited from my grandfather. And I don't have papers because this is my land. I have it since generations. But, like to make it complicated for the Palestinians to prove ownership, the question is, where is your title? In order to take land. Now, many Palestinians cannot prove their ownership on paper. Yeah? So they started to say, well, I own the land from generations. Then they applied the second Ottoman law. Says, all right, you were the user of the land or your family, but now your land is being abandoned, not cultivated continuously, And according to the Ottoman law, what is not cultivated is a state land. So, of course, those are unjust laws in order to take more land, but this is the justification. Yes, please.
We talked to some people in Jerusalem a few years ago, and they said the IDF came and collecting taxes, but they also took their deed to their house.
Yes.
And they haven't calling it back. Have you had that problem with your deed getting taken?
Yeah, well, we did not have our deeds taken, but many of them, they had the same, they had this problem, and then they did not follow up because they said, oh, they left, and I have, anyway, I am controlling my land or my house. I don't need to have the papers, So, but in our case, the land was registered, and we kept those documents.